Barlow Creations. If you're new to my channel and you're stopping by for the first time, thank you for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. Stick around a while by clicking that red button for more crafting on a budget, more everything on a budget videos to come. And if you click it again when the bell appears, YouTube should notify you every time I'm uploading a new video, depending on the option that you choose in the drop-down menu of the bell. If you're interested in following me on social media, you can find those links in the description box below. So what do I have going on for you for today? Today, I am working with a creator here on YouTube that I've never had the pleasure of working with, and that is Katelyn over at Krafts by Katelyn. Oh my word, is she ever stinking talented. She has got such a creative mind, and I am so excited to be working with her today. Today, we thought it would be fun to bring to you some DIYs using some of the same items that you can find at the Dollar Tree, and just putting our own twist and seeing how we incorporate these items into our DIYs. I think that this is kind of a fun challenge, and I'm really excited to see what she comes up with, and I'm excited to be bringing to you some of the DIYs that I've come up with. So let me quit my gabbing, let's not waste any more time, let's jump into it, and let's do some crafting on a budget. Because why not? It's fun. It's Christmas time. Let's do some Christmas DIYs on a budget. Alrighty, so getting started with today's DIY, I will be using these mason jar plaques. These come in a couple of different styles. The amount that is needed for this DIY is going to vary. I'll be using 6 today. For this next step, I was intending to use my Waverly chalk paint, but it was dried out. And Waverly chalk paint is a bit hard to come by right now, so I went ahead and gave all 6 of my plaques a good coating with just some spray paint. Don't worry too much about the unevenness. It's not going to show, we just need a solid black base. I just recently found these burlap rolls at Walmart for $2.97 a piece. You can't beat that, would you? Look at how gorgeous these are. This buffalo check screams everything that I love. Farmhouse, it's going to go great for Christmas. Had to get it. And I thought that this snowflake one would work really well with it as well. And I'm going to use that burlap to cover the mason jar plaques that I painted black. So to do that, I cut a piece of burlap that's just a bit bigger than the plaque itself. And I cut 2 pieces because I want to cover the front and back side. To cover these with burlap, it's super easy. For those of you who are new to my channel and just stopping in for the first time from Katelyn's, covering items with burlap is one of my favorite things to do, and you can easily do it just by using some Mod Podge, giving your plaque a good healthy coat of this, then just simply placing your burlap right on top of that Mod Podge, and then giving it a second coat of Mod Podge right on top of the burlap itself. This is going to stiffen the burlap and it's going to adhere it nicely onto that plaque. And I'm going to do that to both sides. But before I do it to both sides, I'm going to let this side get good and dry. I'm going to pop this in my oven at the lowest temperature it'll go, which is about 135 degrees. And I'm going to give it about 15 minutes and it's going to speed up the drying process. Once it's good and dry, for this DIY, I'll be using scissors to cut that excess burlap off. Typically, I use a razor, but because there's some funky edges on this, I found that just using scissors was a bit easier, and look at how cool that plaque looks. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing that I just did to the front side, and I'm gonna repeat it onto the back. With the 6 plaques themselves, I'm gonna do 3 with the buffalo check and 3 with the snowflakes. For what would be the lid or the ring of this mason jar, I'm gonna use some black puffy paint. This stuff is one of my favorite items to work with because I feel like it adds texture. Just something a bit different than using paint. I love the way it looks when it dries, and it's very budget friendly. You can get puffy paint at just about any craft store, but I find that buying it at Walmart, you get these bigger bottles here for a lot cheaper. Usually at Michael's and Hobby Lobby and Joann's, you can get the smaller sizes. And so I like just being able to get a bigger size bottle like this one here. And right along the top of all 6 of the plaques, I'm just gonna fill in with my puffy paint where the ring would be, and I'm gonna do that on the front and the back side. Look at how pretty those look, so rustic. I love these. I felt like they were missing something, and so I wanted to go ahead and add some twine around the neck of the mason jar. I wasn't real sure how this was gonna look, but I wanted to go with it anyway because I really wanted to just, I guess, disguise that harsh line between the black puffy paint and the burlap, and I thought a good way to do that would be to use some twine, my go-to method for things. This wouldn't be one of my DIYs without twine. Dollar Tree also has this amazing berry garland that comes in several different colors. I initially really wanted to use the red for this because I thought that the red would add just a pop of color to it. But later on, you'll see why I chose to go with the white. And so for this, I'll be using, I believe it took 2 strands of this berry garland to cover all 6 of my plaques. Yeah, so I'm not sure what happened to the footage of me gluing these mason jars together, but I did glue them together side by side, alternating the patterns, and I just used some Aleene's glue. I didn't go with a hot glue because I didn't want them to come apart. And for these mason jars, I thought it would be fun to put my last name on them. And so for my last name, I did cheat a bit. I used my Cricut Joy because I absolutely love it, and I cut out the letters of my name using that. You can very easily use stickers. You can get stickers at Dollar Tree. You can get very budget-friendly stickers at Hobby Lobby. They're always 50% off. But since I had my Cricut, I might as well do it because I think I own stock in cardstock because I have so much of it. And I'm just going to use hot glue to adhere the letters onto my mason jar. Now this is where the amount of mason jars that are needed for this DIY is going to vary, because if you want to just do a word or your last name is longer or shorter, then you're going to need more mason jars for that. On the back side of the mason jar plaques, I am going to put the word family because it as well had 6 letters to go with my last name. So on one side it'll say Barlow, and on the back side it'll say family. Either way, displaying either one of these words is really awesome. I love them both, and look at how cute that looks. I feel like something is missing on this. I thought I was going to be done, but I'm not. So using the garland from the Dollar Tree, because I have it, I decided just to cut a piece of it off and add just kind of a bunch of it here at the top of the mason jar, add a couple berries to it, and give some of those needles a bit of a trim because they were way too long. And of course, I'm going to finish it off with one of my twine bows. Because I like the look of the garland and the berries so much, I went ahead and added it to the bottom of this mason jar as well, and on the back side, I did it the same way. For this second DIY, this is kind of a throwback to one that I've kind of done before. You're gonna need 4 of Dollar Tree's 8x10 flat frames. I'm only showing 3 here, but you are going to need 4. The flatter the frame, the better. You don't want it to have any curves in it because we are going to be stacking these. And to do that, I'm gonna remove the backing of 3 of the 4 frames, and I'm also gonna remove the prongs. Those prongs pull out pretty easily. Don't throw the backing away because I'm gonna show you how to recycle them in another DIY. To stack these frames, I'm going to be using some of Aleene's tacky glue because I feel like it holds a lot better than a hot glue would. A hot glue, you're going to find that it's going to peel off the surface of these frames, so it's not going to be a good hold. Now this frame here doesn't have the prongs in it. We are stacking the 3 frames that we removed the prongs. Once the 3 frames are good and glued together and dried, I'm going to take some Apple Barrel's paint. This is a black matte paint. I was able to find this at Walmart. Not sure if Waverly is being affected by COVID or not. I have a really hard time finding it. And so since it seems to be out of stock and Walmart was fully stocked with the Apple Barrel, I went ahead and picked up a couple bottles of the black paint. Although this isn't a 1-coat paint, it's going to be probably a 2 or 3-coat paint. It's going to get the job done, and it's only 50 cents a bottle. With this 4th and final frame, I'm seeing that I did remove the prongs. That's because we're gonna replace the glass in at least one of the frames, and to replace the glass, you need this frame to be separate before you do that. When I put the glass in, I did hot glue it to that frame before I stacked it on those other 3 frames. And to fill this box, I thought I'd fill it with some of Dollar Tree's bills. This project is somewhat Pinterest inspired. Now, taking the back of one of the frames, I'm gonna use some of Dollar Tree's wrapping paper because I really loved the look of this. I wanted to go with something on the lighter side. I'm gonna trace the backing, which would be an 8x10, and I'm just gonna simply cut it out. I'm gonna adhere it onto the back of the frame, the standing part of the frame here. Now we're ready to close up our shadow box, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and place this back in. Now, when you are gluing together those 3 frames, I do wanna say you should leave the bottom frame with the prongs. It's gonna make it easier, but if you don't, you can just run a bead of hot glue along the back. And look at how nice that looks. Look at how fun and festive that is. And you can see that that's why I wanted to go with a lighter backing, because I am using one of Dollar Tree's wall decals, and I thought that this would be a perfect embellishment to add to the glass of this. Now, it seems that the grateful is a bit too big, but I'm gonna make this work. So just by simply cutting it in half and angling it a bit different, I made it work for me, and I got a really great embellishment from the Dollar Tree using the wall decals. And to embellish the front of this, I just took some of the pine needles, glued them together, added a bell from the pack, some of the berries from my garland, and a bow, and I am super happy with this. I think this is the perfect finishing touch to this. And what a fun piece is this. This piece could be hung or it could be stood up on a shelf because we use the backing of the frame. For this third DIY, I'm going to be showing you how I utilize the backing of the 3 frames that we just removed from our previous DIY. So for this one, I'm going to be using some of Aileen's tacky glue. I'm going to put some of the glue on the cardboard, and using a piece of felt, I'm going to cover up that backing. Now, I'm doing this because I want to use some of Dollar Tree's burlap, and Dollar Tree's burlap isn't the best quality. It's kind of a lightly woven burlap, so you can see through it, and because I don't want to see the cardboard, I decided that putting a bit of felt on it would cover that up and disguise it. Felt is very inexpensive. You can get it from 18 cents to 25 cents depending where you buy it. Right now, Joann's is having a great sale. I think it's 6 for $1, so you can't beat that. Once I've got the felt on, again, I'm going to take some of Aileen's glue and I'm going to run it along the sides, and I'm going to take some of Dollar Tree's burlap. You don't have to use Dollar Tree's burlap. If you have a better quality burlap, you could probably skip the step of putting the felt, but you can see here that by placing that felt, it kind of gives it more of a finished look. I'm going to go ahead and just lay that burlap down and cut the excess off. And I don't remember if I said it or not, but you're going to want to do that to all 3 of these cardboard pieces. Using some of Dollar Tree's rope, I'm going to make letters out of it. How rustic is that, and how fun is that? And so here you can see that I am making the letter J, and it is very easy to do. Once you've got it kind of laid out in the position that you like, keep it in that position and just lightly lift up the letter in places and hot glue it down. And so because I had 3 backings, I figured the perfect 3-letter word for this time of year would be joy to put on these. Now, if you can't find the 15-foot garland at Dollar Tree, this is a great alternative. This is wired garland pieces. These are 12-inch pieces. Although I do have the 15-foot garland, I didn't want to cut it up because I need it for another DIY. Actually, I needed to decorate my house. And since I had these pieces, I figured these were perfect to cut up, and I'm going to use these to frame out the letters, kind of giving it more of a finished look, covering up those edges. Using some of Waverly's chalk paint, I do have some of this on hand. I'm going to give this that snowy look on the garland, and an easy way to do that is to just kind of brush some acrylic paint on. Do you want to use the canned snow at Dollar Tree? I would say not, because it doesn't really fully dry and harden. And so you're going to end up with more of a mess and ruining your DIY. So for long term and keeping a piece like this, just by adding some acrylic paint, you're going to achieve the same look. Although I love this, I feel like the letter is getting lost in this because it's too similar to the color of the burlap. And so to kind of make it pop a bit more, stand out a bit more, I'm just going to run some of my white paint along the top of the rope. And I think that that's going to make it stand out just a bit more, but I'm still keeping the rustic feel of using the rope as a letter. This needs a bit of color. It needs some red berries added to it. Now, if you can't find that red berry garland, I ran out of it. Dollar Tree has these glitter berries, or any kind of berries really, with their silk flowers, their fake flowers. So I say you just go pick up a couple bunches of them and cut them apart. And I think that this is the pop of color that this needed. I think it really just ties it in and makes it more of that traditional Christmas feel. Now, would you look there? We just made this fun, festive Christmas decor piece, recycling the cardboard backing from a frame. Now, you can display this one of two ways. You can stand it up because it's got the stand in the back, or you can just put a twine hanger on the back and you can hang it up. Your choice, you choose. I hope you all enjoyed today's Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs and how I incorporated that garland and the berry garland into my DIYs today. Make sure to head on over to Katelyn's channel to see what she does with these items. I will leave the link to her video in the description box below. Please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and let's get this video to, you guessed it, 5,000 likes, because like I always say, each and every one of your thumbs up and those comments that you do leave down below, they really do help my channel to grow, and it helps YouTube to notice me just a bit more. Until next time, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day. Happy crafting on a budget. Stay happy, stay safe, stay healthy, but most of all, stay positive, and bye for now, everybody.